Welcome back, my dear students. So it's time for us to start playing around with Passport.js. Remember, that's a module that I introduced you in the beginning of this section. I believe it was in the first video or something like that, or the last section. Anyway, either way, this module is going to allow us to log in to our application by using other services like Google, Facebook, Twitter, and all that stuff. But we are going to be using it to log in with our own credentials. And at the same time, we're going to be making our application a little bit more flexible because we can plug in any strategy. And when I say strategy, I mean any other code that will allow us to log into, like say Google or anything like that. Remember when I told you about strategy at first? So anyway, let's download it. npm install Passport and Passport local, which is a strategy that we are going to be using. Okay, local means that it's just going to check for the username or email and our password from the database. And enter. Make sure that we download it. Great. Now we need to include it in our, and I mean routes home index. Here's where we need to include it. So I'm going to say Passport, and I'm going just to require it here. And here we are going to also require a, call this Passport local. That's the strategy. And here at the end, inside this Passport local, there is an object that we can access called strategy. We can access that because that's a strategy we're going to be using. And you use that, you do that with every other strategy. You first do npm on the strategy you want, and you take out the strategy from there. So here we're going to say something like local strategy, something like that. Great. So now we can use it. Let's go to our login. Remember to write some of the, to put some comments on your routes or and your code, okay? Guys, I don't do it because I want to save time. I don't want this course to be 600 lectures, okay? All right. Um so now that we have our passport, let's use a function called authenticate. You can get all this information in the documentation, and I read it a lot. Okay, actually they are using uppercase, so let's use that as well right here. I know I saw that somewhere. Okay, so very common sense once you get to know it, but it could be a little mess in your head if you don't know what you're doing. So that's what I'm here for. So let's use this password authenticate function. And the first parameter is going to be the strategy that we are going to be using. I'm going to be using the local strategy. And the second parameter is an object with some properties and values. These properties and values are going to do different things depending whether we log in or not, authenticate or not, okay? So one of the properties is called success redirect. And this is where it's going after it is authenticated. We're going to send this person to admin or this user. And there's another one very similar to that, but this one is failure. That's the one I'm interested. There are a couple more. I'm just interested in just this two. And this would be to log in. Let's do one more. And what I want to do is failure flash, just so that we can get a session or a little flash message error. Okay, and then we can use that. And let's set that to true. Now I'll show you that flash. It's like rec flash error, like that. We get something like that we can use. Okay, anyway, so once that's done, here we can pass in, and we have to, our requests and our response or our nets, which is not here. We need a net function. Remember that this is how we go to the next request with this function. So we pass all that in because we want this function to be called immediately once this is executed. We're passing all that. Okay. So there's nothing else we need to do here, to be honest with you. Now we have to just play around with some of the functionality. On the next lecture, we're going to test out Passport. Okay, we are done with this first lecture, which was to um, the first part, which was to use it. Now we need to test it on the next lecture. Thank you so much, and I'll see you on the next lecture.